My name is Christopher. And as Pete says, I did this master thesis project about designing conversation AI in digital healthcare in regards to accessibility. So the outline of today's presentation, I will start to briefly talk about the master thesis project, and then we continue with the findings from a survey that was sent out early in this spring, and as well the user study that was conducted together with people with cognitive disabilities. And as well, and in the end, I will show some demos of a prototype that have been built. And if you have any questions, please write them in the chat, and then we'll take it in the end of the presentation. Just to make a quick note, this is not a validated medical product that have been built. This concept, from what I've understood, validation is very important to make products that's confident and that the device is accurate, safe, reliable, and trusted. The focus for this concept that have been built is from an accessibility perspective. So that's a very important note. Accessibility is a field that's received a lot of attention recently, mostly because of the Swedish law that says that public services or websites needs to be accessible according to the WCAG, which is Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. The date is set to be the 23rd of September 2020. The aim of this law is to make websites more accessible for everybody, no matter disability. I've been working especially with these kind of guidelines, and as well the cognitive accessibility, which is a new ISO standard that a group is called Begripsam, who's working together with people with different cognitive disabilities, and taking this ISO standard forward that will be a complement to WCAG for these aspects. For this project, I've been working with this group of 4 participants who has been involved in this project throughout the process. Conversation AI is a field that's really evolving in the last few years, mostly chatbots and voice assistants. So you can use kind of a natural language way to communicate with this platform. It's based on machine learning algorithms and especially natural language understanding. So this was a bit the second focus in my project. And as well as symptom checkers and digital healthcare has exploded, especially in this pandemic that we see. It makes users or patients more easily to get into healthcare and to just write their symptoms and get health advice directly. And it also makes the healthcare more accessible. And let's continue to the next slide, that about 20% of Sweden's population has some kind of disability, according to SKB 2019. When we design products, it's important to not exclude these people. More than 50% of people, population in Sweden, needs reading glasses, for example. But this is not only this group of people, if you said, it's more than that. You can say that inclusive design is something we work on to include everybody in these digital area. You can say that it kind of talk about the individual ability to meet the digital requirements. We talk about different types of disabilities that could be permanent, temporary, or situational based. For example, if you have arm injury or a new parent or different blind-sighted. So it's not only if you have some kind of cognitive or like physical disability, it's more than that. But in the end, it's about making it accessible for everybody if you make it accessible from the beginning. The goal of the project is to create this concept of a symptom bot with accessibility focus, and also explore the field of conversation AI and use the inter-user interaction with voice, text, and touch. It is a continuation from the hackathon that was done in February, together with Johan, Tove, and Lars, yes. But more in that sense that now you can use your voice throughout the whole journey into the end from the beginning. The research question was what are the important factors when it comes to designing conversation AI in regards to accessibility? So the findings from the survey that was sent out and user study conducted. I got about 143 respondents. Overall, there were more women than men that answered the survey, as well as most of them had some kind of university degree. And this can be found as well in the literature from Vårdanalys, that women are more likely to use digital healthcare solutions and often has some kind of higher degree as well. As well as the most common search causes to use digital healthcare. I asked that question in the survey, the three most common one was fever, sore throat, cough, and rashes, which is also found in the literature for the three most common search causes. But overall, 60% are positive to digital healthcare, and about half of them seek health information several times per year. And in the question, I kind of asked, do you Google your symptoms? And it's more likely that people do that in today. And it's important to not, I mean, you can go very wrong in that direction. So it's important to have it very validated and see that systems are good in that sense. I also asked about chatbots in the survey. Half of them have used the chatbot before, and about half of them are comfortable outlining symptoms to this chatbot. But about 40% would trust the advice from a health chatbot, and this can say that you can say that technology is very new. People has not been adapted to this technology yet, and but you can say that recent advancements in machine learning and natural language understanding, with this progress and the rapid introduction of new services, you can see that this will increase. I hope I think that this technology will definitely advance, and more and more will see the technology potentials. The Swedish tax agency, for example, has a chatbot already in place. It's called Skatterobot, I think, Skattis, I think, and it's based on Boost AI. That's a Norwegian company. Who's using machine learning algorithms. And as well, the första linjens vård, 1177, actually tried to create this kind of symptom or a guiding bot 2 years ago, and it was based on the same platform as Skatteverket's bot. I asked from comments from in the survey about chatbots and what they think and what people think about these services, both positive and negative in that way. One quote was that triaging with chatbots actually works, but in regards to reliability, they are extremely poorly designed. They often create more frustration than value for the patient and for healthcare. And with more data, the trustfulness and reliability will make it more. Will make it better. But overall, we're positive to this technology. In the literature that I read, I found out that screen readers, which is a technology for people with disabilities to kind of read out text out loud, when they use chatbots, often the messages is split into different pages or different messages, and only the latest one is read. So this makes it very hard for them to understand the flow in the conversation. So this was one of the point why I created this prototype, which I will show you later on, to just split it up in different pages instead. So the demo of prototype number 1. So the first prototype was built based on the current solution, which is Flow, and tried out in a workshop in January 2020 with 4 participants with cognitive disability. And what they found out from using this platform was that the privacy act that was presented in the beginning was very hard to understand, or like to accept, because they hadn't tried this service before. They just wanted to describe the symptoms before having to accept anything or receive any other information. As well, like this information was very long and hard to understand. So they just wanted to use it and try it and see how it works. As well as bank ID, which is the biggest problem. Oh, hello. That was strange. Oh, yeah. Often because people with disability, some people need kind of a good mom to have access to bank ID, and it's not often the case that this can be possible. There are solutions out there, for example, Freya ID, that makes this possible, but this was an issue that was presented or that they talked about in the when I tested this prototype. So I took that feedback and reiterated and created this demo of prototype 2 that was shown in March. And as well tested again, involved with the users, so they had possibility to try it out, give opinions, and feel that they are evolving in the process. That was very important. I made this kind of Google-inspired way to just start using the platform, write the symptoms in free text, and then they open up the questionnaires. One user pointed out that seeing words and sentences of examples makes it easier to search. When you just have a free text input, it can be hard for users to understand, like how to start, what to write in free text. So it's always good to give examples in text. There was some users that said that it should be consistent in the whole UI, to not use different kind of buttons, or it should be clear enough that it's clickable or not. These kind of didn't have the gradient behind it. It was not, the user didn't feel that it was clickable, for example. So it didn't have a shadow. They thought that this was a good way to illustrate pain levels with maximum 5-point scale. Often larger scales are hard to understand from a cognitive point of view. But some people have difficulties to understand facial expressions and as well colors. In the study, I found out that one user, for example, associated the color red with love. It didn't understand why it should be something negative or something interpreted as bad. Instead, it should be good, or in that way, something another way of saying. Feedback as well is it should be responsible. Should be clear who is responsible, what is being submitted, and where it is sent. So this platform felt a bit anonymously to use. So then we come up to this demo of prototype 3.0, which is the concept. I'll quickly show you. No. Yeah. No. Yeah. I'll quickly show you the prototype on localhost before, just to show what I'm trying to build. So this is the first view that you come into. You get some kind of introduction that this is a prototype. I'm sorry, it's in Swedish, but it says that welcome to this prototype. It can answer a question about headache, sore throat, cough, and fever. So, for example, you have different examples that you can use here. So for example, hög feber som går upp och ner in 10 dagar. That you have high fever that go up 10 days, and you ask this question, and then it gives some kind of confirmation that has it understood correctly. You have the option to say yes or no. For example, this kind of, we found out that it was fever, and it was 10 years ago it started, and it's about 39 to 39.9 degrees. Yes, this is not implemented in the solution that can be found on Symptom Guiden, because I found some bugs and I need to address them before it can be published. But this is the idea, to have some kind of confirmation that it has understood you as a user. Yes, so the idea behind it, you can actually go to this URL and try it by yourself and see how it works. It's not, as I said in the beginning, it's not medical tested. It has bugs, but the concept, it's about the concept that using free text, you can fill in and it will kind of try to make the patient journey more easy. In order to like pre-fill in the forms. I can, for example, take that jag behöver ett läkarintyg för min hosta. So I, for example, need a medical certificate, thank you, for my cough. So this is the first question that's presented for all different questionnaires that have been built. And it's kind of an easy way to use this 0 to 100 question, but have combined it with symbols and colors, which make it more accessible. You can, so the service is WCAG compatible. So I've tried it with both screen readers, and you can tab towards through the interface, only using the keyboard, and use the different inputs in this way.
Can you move that thing with your keyboard?
Yes. So up and down with arrows. So the way is like there is different. What I've tried to is to use different options. That's not only touch based, but you should be able to use free input or drag and play. You can also read up.
Hur bra är din hälsa idag? Från 1 sämsta tillstånd till 100 bästa tänkbara tillstånd.
And it reads out the question. And oh, it's a bit buggy here, I see. But it's kind of a simple questionnaire way of building it, but it's a chatbot in the background that's working, trying to understand the intents of what has been written here, asked for. So if I just continue this form, I show you in the end that it will give you kind of a very standard way of just saying that you need more care than we can give you today. But the interesting thing is that we said that in the beginning we needed läkarintyg, and it found out that it pre-filled in this question. Kind of what do you need for us? What do you expect from us? As well as saying återkommande huvudvärk. It will take this and pre-fill the question, so we'll be making more easier for the patient to not having the same question repeated in this yeah. There's also form validation. So for example, if I don't answer a question here, I get a notification that you need to answer this question. There was found in the user study as well that you should avoid this the button disabled and instead present the user with a clear error message. It should be as well like some red boxes in the top as well. But it's important that you should avoid to use the button disabled. The user should be able to just click and get feedback of what happened, what went wrong. You can as well zoom, which is important for users that are having hard time to see or have very the eyesight is limited. Most websites, it's important that these like the elements is cohesive so that you can see everything and use it. But the funny thing, or the last thing, is the voice interface. So if I try and say, let's see. Jag har hostat i 3 veckor.
Hur bra är din hälsa idag? Från 1, sämsta tillstånd, till 100, bästa tänkbara tillstånd.
1.
Detta kan behöva undersökas omgående på en akutmottagning.
So if I say something like 1, my health status is very low, maybe you should contact the healthcare directly. But what this interface is trying to make is just use your natural language and trying to go use this questionnaire. And from the feedback that I received, this sound, it was actually Lars' son that tested this interface, and he found that there was no sound before the microphone was activated. So he had hard time to understand when to start to talk. But I did this now, so now there's a sound before activating. Hej.
Hej, mitt namn är Ida. Vad har du för symptom?
Jag har återkommande huvudvärk.
Hur bra är din hälsa idag? Från 1, sämsta tillstånd, till 100, bästa tänkbara tillstånd.
88.
När började din nuvarande huvudvärk? Säg, före till 24 timmar sedan, eller före till 30 dagar sedan, eller För 1 till 12 månader sedan.
För 1 till 30 dagar sedan.
På en skala från 5, värsta tänkbara smärta, till 1, ingen smärta. Hur skulle du bedöma nivån på din huvudvärk?
4.
Hur har dina besvär utvecklats senaste tiden? Säg, de har förbättrats. Eller, de är oförändrade. Eller, de har förvärrats.
De har förvärrats.
Var sitter din huvudvärk? Du kan välja flera alternativ. Alternativen är sidan av huvudet, tinning, runt eller bakom ögonen, runt öronen, annat.
Runt eller bakom ögonen.
Har du något att följa?
I just want to show that I don't push any buttons. It will continue with this flow only using voice. So that's kind of cool, I think. And in the hackathon we did in February, we actually used this space bar, but this makes it more easily interactive. I also did a very funny thing that berätta ett skämt.
Vem i kylskåpet jobbar extra? Tim Jan.
So it has some a bit extra spicy there. And as well, I think I said, hej, jag har corona.
Alla kan få coronavirus. Många får bara milda symptom, men vissa blir väldigt sjuka och behöver vård. Även de med milda symptom kan smitta.
Yeah, so there is more question than only the fever, headache, and sore throat. But in the end, it's a chatbot, and you can have a natural conversation with it. I think, as I said, you can try it out. There are bugs. It's not fully implemented. But one funny thing, if you click here, there's actually a dark mode. I think it was cool. Because in the end, it's about making it adaptable. Users, if they prefer dark mode, that possibility should be there.
If you are a bartender, as you had in that poster, would be a different situation.
Yeah. Yeah. In the bar. Yeah. So I think that was it for the demo. But I have some more slides here to show you. What was found out during this user study was that it's good to have a large scale of emojis in order to make it easier to go through the questionnaire. Often scales between 1 and 0 can be difficult for many people, but according to the MQD5, I think it's called, the health scale, which is used in the healthcare. This was still a good way to use. This interface was found to be good, clear, and educational, and it was easy to understand what you should do. And as well, that it's kind of a similarity to feel like it's a questionnaire that fill in more than like in conversational UI. As I said, the voice, the sound, there was no sound to indicate when to talk. This was implemented, and as well the pain scale I didn't show you, but there is the user preferred to have the good condition or the best condition to the right and not to the left, to be consistent with the interface and not changing the way of presenting it for the users. Yeah, so what has been done? I built this concept of an accessible symptom bot. The forms are pre-filled based on the patient's free text, which makes it easier and faster for to fill in the report for the caregiver. Implemented a voice interface that works both in Chrome, Safari, and Firefox. it is fully accessible according to VCAG 2.1, and it was screen reader tested. So it has been built with RASA, which is a Python framework, machine learning framework, to automate test and voice-based assistance. The good thing here is that it's open source. So we kind of own our own data. So it supports multiple languages. It's HIPAA compliant. I don't know exactly that, but it's secure and it can be used in healthcare. So we don't need to use Google services, or like we can own our own data in our own secure way. And the front end was built in React using Axios and React step by step, and using React X as an accessibility tool for testing. In short, how it works, it's kind of taking input for both keyboard input and microphone, and then it makes a query, and then based on the data that have been trained, it try to find entities and intents, and try to make a guess of what it can be said, and then give back an actionable data and output. This was still, it's out of the scope for this project, but it can further be implemented and using graph databases. This could be like a cluster way of implementing and using more large data sets to train this model. So this is kind of an example of how these, it's in Swedish, unfortunately, again, but it says like for the first one, I have cough and a little hard breathing, feels a little better, very easily breathed. And then you can find these entities and kind of pre-fill in the form, or fever 38. It could be find these different entities in this free text. And in the end, it's a natural way of communicating, and free text is important. And if it makes it easier for the patient to go through the questionnaire, then I think this solution makes it more easier, patient friendly. Yeah, and as well, if you have 2 search causes, then it will add and ask for 2 forms in the same questionnaire. Yeah. So it will see what kind of question you haven't answered, and then combine it in one flow. Yes. So conclusion in the end: be consistent. Be consistent with the components and focus on what is most valuable. Clean interfaces are especially important for users with cognitive disabilities. It's important to use clear and understandable languages, to avoid advanced medical terms, and use it more in an understandable way. And as well, combine with symbols and colors to enhance the experience. And then provide alternative ways of interaction. For example, using speech, text, and touch makes it easier for the user to use the interface. And as I found out, like, it's very important to test and involve the users in the process, not only in the end, but from the beginning. If they feel that they are involved, they understand the technology, which was also found in the literature review about AI. If they are involved in this kind of solution from the beginning, they are more confident in the solution, and they can they feel like they can trust it more. Further work. So the Google Voice is still using Google's API, even though it's working in Safari and Firefox. So there is possibility to explore Mozilla Deep Speech, which is as well an open source project, but that takes a lot of work, I think, because you need to create your own speech models. But there are potential to have it self-hosted and not to use Google services for that. Voice is still not 100% accurate, which was found out in the demo. Some words are not interpreted correctly, and as well difficult to handle mistakes and backtracking. Thank you.